Let's head back to the year 1996 and talk about a Tony Scott directed thriller. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're going to head back to the year 1996 for another 90s thriller. But before we do that, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here, I would appreciate that. Today we're going to talk about The Fan. The Fan released August 16th of 1996. It's rated R. It's an hour and 55 minutes long. Had a budget of $55 million, and upon release, it only made $18 million. Now, considering the talent involved, you can understand the studio was probably pretty disappointed with that take. Directing this film was none other than Tony Scott. Tony Scott was just coming off of Crimson Tide in '95, and he did this film, and then he would go off to do Enemy of the State, which came out in '98. We got a pretty good cast here. We got Robert De Niro playing Gil Renard. We got Wesley Snipes playing Bobby Rayburn, and he's a baseball player that just signed a huge contract with the San Francisco Giants. John Leguizamo is in this film as Manny, and he is Bobby's agent. Ellen Barkin is in this film as a local sports talk show, and she plays Jewel Stern. And Benicio del Toro plays a player on the San Francisco Giants, and he is Juan Primo. We also got three character actors in this film that are really good character actors. Chris Mulkey's in this film. He's been in a bunch of projects over the years. Charles Hallahan and Kurt Fuller are also in this film. Now, this film is based on a novel, and it starts off with Bobby Rayburn signing with the San Francisco. Big deal. He's coming to San Francisco. He kind of plays Bonds kind of player, I guess. And he just signed with the San Francisco Giants, coming from Atlanta. He signed this huge contract, and the fans are excited he's coming to San Francisco. The one fan in particular that's excited about this is Gil, because he is obsessed with baseball, and he used to watch Bobby play locally in Little League back in the day. And Gil has a young son. He's divorced, and him and his ex-wife have a very not good relationship. But she lets him take their kid to opening day. And Gil is just upset. He's a knife salesman for this company that his father started way back when. And when they got bought out, they kept Gil on as a salesman, and his sales aren't going that well. And the boss even says about how people are afraid of him. He takes his son to the opening day game, and he's excited about Bobby Rayburn. He pretty much ignores his kid the whole time. And he leaves his kid there because he has to go to a business meeting. And his kid ends up getting taken home to his mother from some of the fans, this older woman who saw this take place. And pretty soon after this, his wife gets a restraining order against him because Gil is definitely not well mentally. But Gil becomes even more infatuated with Bobby Rayburn, and he kind of follows him to his house, and he watches him and his son playing on the beach. And Gil gets in with Bobby by his son goes out in the ocean, and Gil goes out and he gets in trouble, and Gil's there and runs out and saves him. So Bobby kind of brings him in his house, and he's having a beer with him and playing games or a pool with him and that. And then things start taking a dark turn. Bobby starts realizing Gil is not well at all and a psychopath pretty much. And pretty much Gil ends up kidnapping Bobby's kid. He murders Primo before this so Bobby can get his number back, thinking he's helping Bobby. And Bobby does start playing better. He's in a slump, then he comes out of it. Then he takes the kid, his friend that he knew from way back when, and is killing him because the guy knows Gil's gone off the reservation, tries to help the kid get away. And basically at the end, we have this final showdown during a baseball game where Gil sneaks onto the field as a home plate umpire, ends up getting shot by the cops. They find Bobby's son, and that's the end of The Fan. What to like about this film? Well, the strength of this film relies on the directing by Tony Scott. Tony Scott always directed films really nicely, especially back then, before he started experimenting with the quick cuts and all that stuff. Although I like some of those films, but that experimental phase in Tony Scott, some of those films really are the directing is a little too out there. But this one's classic Tony Scott. Beautiful shots, well cut, well directed movie. And then we have the acting. Robert De Niro's great as Gil, as this definitely guy who's majorly obsessed with baseball, and Bobby Rayburn. And he's great as this kind of guy who's definitely on the tipping point of going over the edge and becoming a full-fledged psycho, which he does during the film. And then you got Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes is great here, playing the baseball player. The second time Wesley Snipes has played a baseball player. He played baseball player in Major League in '89, and he's just as good here. The whole cast is good for what they're given to do. It's a really strong cast, even with the character actors here, so that's not the problem. The script's pretty good. I like this film. It's a good, solid thriller. I think the problem is Gil, even though we could see him deteriorating, I don't think we get to see him do enough bad stuff. He's definitely despicable by the end, and he kidnaps Bobby's kid, and he threatens to kill him, and all this stuff, and he does kill 2 people. I just think it takes a little bit to get to that point. I mean, the movie's an hour and 55 minutes long. They should have pumped up the middle just a little bit, and I think that's to the film's detriment. I think it drags a little bit during that middle section. I wish they would have had maybe another scene of Gil doing something despicable. I mean, he's despicable enough when we want to see him get his comeuppance by the end, no doubt. I just feel that middle section could have been either tightened up or they could have given Gil something else to do to make him even more of a bad guy. But they don't do that. So I feel the middle drags a little bit. But the acting's really well done. It's well directed. It's not perfect by any means. And it's certainly not Tony Scott's best film. But it's a solid entry in Tony Scott's filmography for sure. Now, Wesley Snipes actually wanted to play the Gil character originally. But eventually he took the Bobby Rayburn character. And they got Robert De Niro. Well, Robert De Niro signed on first because Tony Scott had actually turned down this film twice until Robert De Niro signed on, and then Tony Scott circled back and signed on to direct this film because he wanted to work with Robert De Niro. The novel actually was set in Boston and took place around the Boston Red Sox, not the San Francisco Giants, so they changed that for the movie. Tony Scott actually was offered The Rock and turned that down to do this film because he wanted to work with Robert De Niro that bad. At the end of the day, this is a perfectly solid thriller. You can get that Blu-ray with the VHS slipcover, which is pretty damn cool, off Amazon. I think I got it for like $12. It's definitely worth the purchase. I don't know if you've never seen this film, I would say see if it's streaming anywhere. I don't know if it is, but it's definitely a solid 90s thriller with some really good acting, really good visuals by Tony Scott. And I think it's a very good, solid thriller. I just think the middle of it drags a little bit. But at the end of the day, I would give The Fan a 7.5 out of 10. 7.5 out of 10 for The Fan. Have you ever seen this movie? Give a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Join me here. I would appreciate that. I'll be back soon with some more reviews. But until next time, bye.